Hey folks, we're going to get started a couple minutes after the hour, so hang tight. All right. Hey folks, we're going to get started in just a couple minutes. Get your questions ready. Andy and I have a couple short announcements, and then we will get straight to Q&A.
Hey folks, I see a couple people from LinkedIn on the live stream on LinkedIn asking if they can get the Zoom link. So I put that in the chat here if you can see it. I'm going to try to respond in LinkedIn here too if this works.
Yeah, I put it in Restream. It should go into LinkedIn, hopefully.
Yeah, let me know if that works. It's not letting me do it.
All right, you want to get started, Andy?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, cool. Thanks for joining, folks, for another one of these Ask Us Anythings that Andy and I love to host. For those of you who have not done this before, we usually start with some quick announcements and then we jump straight into Q&A. So if you have any questions and you're joining from Zoom or YouTube or Facebook or LinkedIn, feel free to put them in the Zoom Q&A or just in the comments for whatever streaming platform you're using. And they will all flow into the same place for us and we will answer your question. Okay, so I'm Ian Alexander, one of the co-founders here at Syncro and channel chief. Andy, you want to introduce yourself?
Hey everybody, I'm Andy. I'm the partner development director here at Syncro.
All right, and we are going to get started with a couple announcements. First thing is just want to let everybody know we have seen unprecedented demand for Syncro. And so we are hiring to scale our support team. If you know any talented individuals who might be a good fit, feel free to check out the careers page on our website. We are hiring and trying to scale our support team. Next up, there is a news feed that some of you may or may not know about. I will share my screen really quickly. The news feed, is in the app, and it is up here. It's this newsletter icon, and it shows all kinds of different improvements that we put out. It had been broken, and it is now fixed and improved. So you can go here on a regular basis and see what has come out recently, and click this, and it'll bring you to the community forum where you can see more details about that item. So that's awesome. Highly encourage folks to just check that out when they see a little red icon there, so they can see what's new. Okay. Next up, Andy, your turn.
Yeah, hey everybody. So I'm gonna talk for a minute about Proofpoint. I'm not sure if everybody has heard, but last month we launched a new partnership with Proofpoint. We want to remind everybody that we are doing a promo, which we launched last month, which is running through the end of this month. And for folks that sign up for a Proofpoint account, we cover both Proofpoint Essentials and Proofpoint Security Awareness Training. Both SKUs are available through Syncro. Each account, meaning each MSP's account, gets 50 NFR not for resale licenses to use internally at your MSP level. And that extends to both the essential SKUs and the security awareness training SKU as well. So you can try those out. Doesn't cost you anything. You can use them for your own internal use indefinitely. Proofpoint is also handling full support end to end. I know that was a big one for people, so we listened and we got that. So there's no need to open any type of support tickets through Syncro first. Proofpoint's going to handle your support end to end. In regards to contracts and minimums, like everything we do here at Syncro, there aren't any. So there's no contracts, no minimums to meet. The price is the price. Speaking of the price, we launched with very, very aggressive pricing, much like our Acronis partnership. For folks that want to see the current pricing, if you go into the App Center in your Syncro instance, there is a Proofpoint app card right in the top. That's going to delineate all of the pricing. And as I mentioned, we have a launch promotion going on, which will get you even better pricing. To qualify, you just have to spin up at least 10 Proofpoint Essentials licenses in a production state by the end of this month to qualify. And that pricing will remain active so long as your Syncro account remains active. And yes, that does apply to any Proofpoint licenses you purchase in the future as well. That pricing will become your pricing. For any folks that already have Proofpoint's accounts spun up with other vendors, we do have a migration process in place. It's just a simple backend billing switch. So there's going to be no front-facing changes to your Proofpoint instance in any way, shape, or form. And best of all, obviously, when you do that, you're absolutely going to be saving money on your monthly Proofpoint spend with Syncro. So if anyone's interested in us having them spin them up a new Proofpoint instance, or for anybody interested in migrating their Proofpoint billing over to Syncro, simply shoot us an email. It's proofpoint@syncromsp.com, and we'll get you set up. Now I'm going to show you guys a couple quality of life features. Every one of these AUAs, we like to launch live a couple features, small features that we hear from the community. And this one's no different. So we have 3 here for you today. These will be live later today, usually within an hour or 2 after the AUA ends. These will hit your accounts, but definitely coming out today. First one is another small improvement to the top nav. We've been making some changes here, making this look a little nicer and cleaner. Now we've also made it sticky. So regardless of the tab you're on, you'll see that the header here sticks. It's not going to disappear. And if you want to hide the top part, you can click this little caret here, and only the tabs will remain sticky, whatever you like there. Again, this will be live later today. This is one that's been asked for quite a long time. We were finally able to get to it and deliver it. This has to do with splitting tickets. For folks that don't know, you can split a ticket at any point. The original ticket stays. It will split over to a new ticket, and you can work that as a separate entity. So this is the original ticket. This is a ticket that I split. And this has always done this. You can see, hey, this ticket was split from this other ticket with a link. Here's what the comments were. You can include any comments you want. And then it's going to basically say, hey, this is the end of the history. So any new comments that you add to this ticket would now be part of the new ticket, not carried over. For auditing purposes, there was no way to show on the original ticket that it was split off. And now you can. So by default, it's just going to add a note in here and says, hey, this ticket was split over to this new ticket. Here's a link to it. You can continue to work this ticket if you wanted to, or shut it down and work it from the new ticket, whatever you wanted to do there. So again, this will be available later today as well. And the last one I'm super excited about. I've been after this for a while, and I bet I've been asked this 100 times in the past 12 months. We finally are able to deliver this. We're looking at a recurring invoice here. And we added some new template tags that you can use in the description of your line items. So we added one for last month, current month, and next month. And the feedback that we got was, hey, I have customers after 12, 24 months, we're still billing them on a recurring basis. They kind of lose sight if I'm billing them on the first, are they getting billed for this month, or were they getting billed in arrears for last month? They don't really know exactly how that functions or how it works. So now it's really easy on every single invoice you send them just to say, hey, this is June's invoice, this is May's invoice. It'll automatically dump that month name in there for you. So this is what that would basically look like on a real invoice, last month, current month, next month. So again, all three of these will be available on your accounts later today.
I didn't know about that last one.
Yeah, I love that last one.
Pretty
That's been asked so many times. So back to you, Ian. I know you got some upcoming events you wanted to talk about.
Yeah, so we like to just highlight some upcoming events so folks know about them if they want to attend in case they're helpful. We have a webinar coming up with Acronis. In case you have any questions about the solution, you can find these obviously on our website under resources and then webinars. So we've got one coming up with Acronis. Actually, this one already happened and you can watch it on demand. Sorry. There's another one that is coming up. And that is, hold on. That is with Dell. And let me pull that up. Here we go. So we have a new partnership with Dell. They have a program that's for MSPs, and we partnered with them. It basically gets you discounts on products that you want to sell to your clients. One of the kind of cool things about this partnership is, unlike the older Dell partner program, where you needed to have the cash to pay for machines for your clients, with this, you actually don't need any cash up front. It's more of a referral type thing. So it's a lot easier on your cash flow. And then you basically get a kickback as an MSP for whatever you sell to the client, which is kind of nice. So anyway, there's a webinar on that coming up on April 20th. So feel free to check that out. Again, that's under resources and then webinars. And that is what I got in terms of upcoming events. Okay, let's jump into questions. We already have a bunch. There's one I like that we can start off with that's real easy. From Jeff, where can we view the asset ID field of a Syncro asset? So here we go. I'm in my Syncro demo account. If I go to assets and RMM, and then I click any asset. So this one, for example, the asset ID is in the URL. So once this loads, we will see the asset ID right there. So that is where you can find that. All right, Andy, your turn.
Yeah, Jeff's got a lot of questions. He came locked and loaded. I like to see that. He's asking about a Acronis backup. Does a Linux server VM count as a server or virtual machine? That's a really good question. That one trips a lot of people up. So basically, a VM is a VM is a VM. It doesn't matter if it's Linux, Windows, whatever. It will count as a VM and the VM pricing. So yeah, it's not a server price. It's significantly cheaper as the quote unquote VM price. So good question there. Jeff again is asking, in ticket automations, can setting custom fields and worksheets be added as an action to ticket automations? You can set, I believe you can set values on custom fields, but you can't set up anything with worksheets. That's been brought up several times. I'll raise that again internally because I think that's a good feature request. But yeah, no, not for the worksheets as of today. Anonymous person saying, currently Syncro can limit a user access to only one customer. I would like the ability for specific users to have access to specific customers. Yeah, we hear that quite frequently. It's something that's being looked at. We don't have that functionality today. And for folks that don't know, we do have what we call a co-managed IT account, basically. So if your MSP helps another one of your customers, but they have somebody on site or a team on site that's supposed to handle tier 1 support, that kind of stuff, you can get them access to your Syncro account and they'll only have access to that one specific customer. That's the functionality that we have built today. We don't have it in there where you can say, you can access these 5 customers and this other person can access these 5. It's designed for a co-managed IT Syncro, so that's not available today. Ian, there's one from Justin. He's asking about emails landing in client spam. Do you have any updates on that one?
Yeah, I mean, email, it's a perennial issue. Yeah, I mean, we're looking at, the team is looking into it. I don't have info on it yet, but I know the team's looking.
Yeah, we've heard a couple of reports of that, so definitely, we're definitely digging into that one. Ticket automations. Can ticket creation source email portal API be added as a ticket automation condition? Jeff, I'm all over that one. We don't have it, but I definitely want to see a source or an origination point of emails, because I totally understand wanting to handle tickets differently depending on how you're ingesting them. So that is something we'll definitely look at for sure. And then another one by Jeff. So yeah, this one comes up a lot too, Jeff. Can we get the ability to merge multiple tickets at the same time? We don't have that today. That's another one that comes up a lot and we're looking at. And the general idea is that if I have a large customer, let's say an office of 50 people and their internet goes down, all 50 people traditionally open a ticket, even though you ask just one person to do it. It'd be great if you could take them all and merge it into a single ticket and triage it that way. Right now it's one by one. So that's another really good suggestion, something else we're taking a look at. Let's see, we're gonna go to the live stream questions here. Somebody's talking about a competitor and they say they have okay, I know I'm getting older, so I don't always know what people are talking about. This says a steak looking interface. I think
I was
looking at a great looking interface.
What kind of steak?
Somebody else the other day said that they were dead after I said something, and that meant it was funny. I had no idea. I thought I pissed them off. So I don't know if this is like a new thing.
I think that's got to be a typo. I don't think that I've ever seen a user interface that looks like steak. But
so he's saying it has a lot of features. He's a Syncro MSP fan, but they're asking about additional features like quote management. We do have an estimates module, so I don't know if you want to ask specifically, like if there's something there that's missing that you'd like to see. But if you want to give me specific examples, we're always happy to entertain them. Somebody else on LinkedIn is asking if we have plans to roll out a Linux agent.
Not currently.
Yeah.
It's not ruled out or anything, but it's not on the immediate roadmap.
Someone's saying that they were trying to spin up an Acronis account and they lost their invite. Is there a way to get that reset? Yeah. Just email me directly, andy@syncromsp.com. Just let me know what your Syncro subdomain is, and then I'll go ahead and I'll get that reset to you. That's no problem. Ben is asking, are there any plans to upgrade the mobile app? They're now using the web browser as an alternative. Yeah, if you want to, it's not currently a high priority, but we're looking at it for security and obviously quick bug fixes and things. If there's something specific that you want to see that it's not doing or areas that you're not happy with it, let us know. If you want to be more specific, yeah, we can take a look at that. But it isn't, again, it's not a high priority at the moment.
We want to do it. It's just a matter of like trade-offs on resources, right? Like we can't do all the things. So we've been prioritizing the UI in the web app and making that work on mobile. So if there are specific asks in the mobile app and stuff, we're happy to take them. We haven't been working on it because we've been prioritizing other stuff.
Mike's asking, what is the pricing of Acronis? Mike, what I'll say is I'll explain how it works. And then if you want to go into the Acronis app card in the App Center, the pricing is there. The only reason I want to give pricing on a recorded webinar is because we are significantly cheaper than competitive vendors. And sometimes folks get a little testy about that. The way it works, though, is there is 2 models. You're going to see a model called the per gigabyte model, and you're going to see another model called the per workload model. You can assign that on a per customer basis, meaning you as the MSP can have 2 different customers with 2 different models. One customer can't have 2 models, if that makes sense. Per gigabyte model basically is usage based, and there are no license fees for any of the SKUs. So it's X amount per gigabyte. There's one price for local, there's another price for the cloud. And then per workload model is a license-based model with a small fee just for cloud storage, no fee for local storage. And that's explained in the app card, but that's basically how pricing works. And then all the straight pricing will just be in there for you. If you have any questions about it, Mike, I know we talk occasionally, but just shoot me an email, andy@syncromsp.com. Jacob is asking, is there a way to trigger Syncro to redeploy the bring your own version of Splashtop? We made some changes to our deployment package and now have a new MSI exe to deploy. If not, is running a script the best option? It is the best option, Jacob. Basically, the integration says, hey, it's installed, or hey, I detected it's not installed. I'm going to go ahead and reinstall it. So that's the one of two options. If you uninstall it from the endpoint, our agent will reinstall your new MSI or exe. Otherwise, if you just want to force it, scripting it would be the best option there. Mark's asking, hey, I have a problem. Credentials are automatically overwritten if you accidentally type in the field. Happened to me while I was using a tiny mobile screen and no way to get the password back. Yeah, it is. You do have to click in there twice to make that happen, but I agree. I know having like a change history is something that we're looking at to avoid situations like that. I think it's a good idea anyway, just in case somebody changes something and fat fingers it. So it's definitely something, that's a good suggestion. It's something we'll take a look at. John's saying, is there any plans for a HTTPS monitor and an ICMP monitor? I'm currently on trial, so apologies if this already exists there. So in terms of ICMP, which is basically just network pings, the answer is yes, that exists already. It's let me bring up a thing here. I think it's system checks. It's a system checks tab, and you can have it ping any local device on the network. And basically, if it's not detecting something, you could throw an RMM alert. In terms of like a web check, that does not exist. You might want to look at something like Uptime Robot or something like that, something free to do that. But yeah, that's not something that I think we'll have native.
And you could easily integrate that. Most of those Uptime monitors, you just have them send an email and you can have that create an alert or a ticket or, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
So that's pretty easy.
Fauzi's asking, any plans for a better Bitdefender integration? So I have to say, Fauzi, anytime people say this, I don't know what better means to you. So if there's let me know specifically what you want it to do that it's not doing. I will say that if you're looking for stuff like, if you go in the Bitdefender Gravity Zone portal, there's literally a billion things you can do. So if you're asking will we ever build that into Syncro? No. But if there's something you're like, wow, I just do this daily and I'd love it if I could do it natively out of Syncro, just to save myself time, let me know what that is, and then we can discuss that for sure.
And just to add some detail to that, we've learned from past experiences that if we try to just replicate all of the functionality that's in some other vendor, say Bitdefender's dashboard, in the Syncro dashboard, what ends up happening is you get less features because when they release a new thing, we have to then go and add it, and we have to maintain that code. So generally, we want to do key things like in Bitdefender, you can choose to deploy something via policies, right? Like that's key. But then the rest, you can do the functionality in the other vendor's dashboard because then you get all the functionality. And we don't have to maintain it. So there's no tech debt there. You get stuff faster. It's kind of a win-win.
Michael's asking, if we have an admin assistant that takes calls and needs the ability to create only tickets, is there a way for them to do that other than sending an email into support? There is, but you're right. They would have to have a Syncro license, obviously. But yeah, once they're in the account, you can put them under a security group and just give them access to basically ticketing only without access to the majority of anything else.
So there is a way to do it. If all you want to do is create tickets, you can use the here in the admin page. There's website integrations and custom widgets. So you could go in and make a custom widget for just like creating a ticket. And you can add a step, right? So basically you go through, this is originally for like kiosks, right? And you would put it in there. So like issue detail, and then like say customer detail and then confirmation. Just as an example, and then you can embed this wherever you want. So this would be like a one way for them to create a ticket. And they would just fill out this form. So yeah, that's one way they can do it.
Oh, I didn't realize. So Nate's on LinkedIn. He's apparently hopped in, Nate from Bitdefender. So he's saying, hey, there's lots we can show you within the console. Please reach out to me and we can do our best practices session. Yeah, Nate, that sounds good. If you want to dump your email in here, I will give it out to folks if you want. I don't know if you want everybody blowing you up, but if you want to, I'm happy to do it. Ben is saying, I noticed that scripts fail if a file is required, but the path it's supposed to go to already contains that file. I want to install my AV. I pass it to a particular location. It checks if that file exists, then fails. Is there a way we can check if the file is in the same location? Yeah, so the way to do this normally, Ben, is you'd host the file. So you can just get a public link from like Dropbox or OneDrive or whatever, and then you just add it in your script. If this file exists, we're going to download it and put it here. If you're saying that there's already a file where you're trying to download it, typically the script files will get cleaned up when they're not used. So if something else is putting it in there and you're using generic names like installer.exe, it could potentially fail because it doesn't know, do you want to overwrite that file or not? So that's the two options: either make it a unique name when you're using it on a per asset basis, or have your script physically download it from a public link, and then check if a file exists and override it or do whatever you want to do there.
Did you answer the question a while ago about the proof point deal?
No, I missed that.
They're just wondering if the proof point deal is still ongoing. I think they missed the beginning.
Oh, it is. Yeah. So it's good through the end of this month. So yeah, just deploy 10 essentials licenses in a production state by the end of the month. Let us know. We flagged your account for the promo pricing. Will be good as long as your Syncro account remains active, and it will also include anything new that you purchase from there on out. Same pricing for everything. Ben saying, doesn't that defeat the purpose of required files if I have to host it elsewhere? It does, Ben, but basically if you go into a location and you have a file there that happens to be named something generic like installer.exe, our scripting engine isn't going to know whether or not you want to delete it. So we could potentially add like a feature request if you're adding a required file, like a little checkbox that says overwrite a file if it exists. Today, it's not going to do that. So like I said, just make sure if you're using something as a Bitdefender installer, whatever you want it to be, so it's not going to conflict with something else that might organically be there for another reason. Mike's saying, any updates to what the devs have found with the inbound email scanner? There's a reference to rich text and the attached image scanner. Ian, do you know what he's referring to there? I don't know what you mean by the inbound email scanner.
I'm not. I can. Let me ask. I'll ask.
Okay. John's asking, are there any plans for graphing CPU and memory usage for the previous 24 hours? There isn't right now. It's requested every now and again. It's not heavily requested. So I would say probably not anytime soon. Right, we are almost out of questions. So if folks have more questions, fire them off. Otherwise, you're going to see me show off some Syncro stuff. Okay, Mike's clarifying. He's saying images not being displayed that were attached to an email when it creates a ticket. I think you're talking about where sometimes it doesn't, like it won't fully load the image. I know there is ongoing work with rich text specifically, but I know Ian's checking, so let me see if he gets anything back.
Yeah, I posted in Slack. Did we answer this question about Acronis in Germany?
No, are you? I think you're seeing questions I'm not.
Oh, it's from YouTube. Frank wants to know when Acronis will be available in Germany.
Oh, okay, good question. We can put you in the UK instance. There aren't any plans to launch a German. I need to check even whether Acronis has one. I think they do. But yeah, if you want to get put in the EU instance, we can do that. If you have like data requirements where the data can't leave Germany specifically, I don't have a solution for you. I don't think that one is on the radar currently. Yeah, I'm seeing now, I only have access to the LinkedIn stuff. So if you're seeing it on
Oh.
anything else, I don't know
Might try
what.
refreshing.
Okay,
Turn it off and on again, Question from Jeff here about splash top multi-screen and multiple technicians connecting to the same asset. Yeah, we've made progress there. It's coming.
Go ahead. If you've got anything from YouTube or Facebook, just show because I don't have them.
Yeah, Tyler's asking for on the Bitdefender integration improvement. Tyler's asking for just a link on the asset detail page that brings them to the computer in Gravity Zone.
Oh, that's a good suggestion.
That's pretty easy.
Yeah, if you do me a favor, go in our community forum and add that to our feature request category and then ping me on it. Because yeah, so long as we record the ID of the asset in Bitdefender, that should be pretty easy to do. So yeah, add that as a feature request. I like that one. That's a good one.
Got another one from Zach on YouTube, basically wanting to do mass wake on LAN for assets for a customer. And he's also saying that the wake on LAN button is kind of like hidden. So I don't know, we could probably just expose that in the actions drop down.
Yeah. Okay, so is there a use case for bulk wake on LAN? Like, is there, I'm kind of curious on that. Yeah, I mean, I'm just curious what the,
I guess like if you had a bunch of machines that were off and you wanted to like run a script on all of them or like kick off Windows updates in off hours, I could see that.
Okay, yeah, if you haven't already, do me a favor, add that as a feature request in that community forum there. And then, yeah, just be aware that if they're all offline, obviously the wake on LAN won't work. We do need one like connected agent that's online to fire those off, but yeah.
Zach also said power loss in the area. That makes sense.
Okay. Jimmy's saying +1 for bulk wake on LAN. I used it all the time in a previous RMM to run before running maintenance, etc. Okay. Well, Jimmy, then, okay, so when you're saying that, it makes me think that it might be super cool to have wake on LAN as part of a script process. So you could be like, I'm going to run this and any machine that's potentially offline, let's go ahead and try to wake it up. Cue the script until that happens. Let me know if that's cool, but I like what
like a checkbox on the script that's like,
yeah.
Huh.
That'd be pretty cool.
Kind of rad.
And the script would queue anyway, so as soon as the machine came online, it'd go ahead and fire off. I like
the
that.
Only thing is like how long does it wait? Like that would be because
well, it would get queued, so until it was back online.
Yeah.
The only thing there is if for whatever reason it doesn't wake up, that script would stay in the queue.
Which happens all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, wake on LAN is not dependable, just as it in general.
Yeah, Jimmy's saying, yeah, it's part of a script, but it was a built-in function. Okay, well, we can look at doing it both ways. I think that's cool. Jeff's saying, can we silence alerts or enable maintenance mode as part of a patch window? You can't, well, you could. There's not a way to say, hey, during a patch window, put up maintenance mode. You can either do that manually or we can turn maintenance mode on and off. Based on a script. So if you have like a 1 hour patch window, you could run a script, like a minute before, set the maintenance mode to occur for an hour, and it wouldn't throw alerts during that time. So there is a way to do that, Jeff, if you run it through scripting.
We got a user responding to Ben with a suggestion on the file already existing issue. So they're suggesting that it's best practice to, at the end of your script, remove the file. So that would resolve that, right? Because if you ran it before, then
it would. The problem is if you have an installer that takes 10 minutes to install or something like that, if you just launch the silent installer command, the script's going to end unless you explicitly say, wait until this process is done.
That's
So
true.
you may actually like run it and then delete it, you know what I
That's
mean?
true.
And then it won't run. So
Yeah.
yeah, but I think that's a good point. Like, I think if we just added a little checkbox in the script that says overwrite if it exists or whatever, that should
Mhm.
probably solve that. But do me a favor, Ben, if I think I said this already, but just add that in the community forum so I can track that. Because it is a good suggestion. Chad's asking, any chance of some particular endpoint metrics that would sync more frequently? For instance, new software installed alert, which we may want to know about more frequently from a security perspective. So yeah, a couple things on that. Yes, we are looking at ways to improve some of the turnaround times. However, there's always going to be things that aren't going to update real time, like software inventories as an example. So there's two things there. If you do have a particular customer with a security concern, you can't set up notifications for any new install. Or if you like install something through a script or manually and you want to confirm in the software inventory that it happened, if you go to an individual asset record, you can go down to the actions drop down, and there's an option for force asset sync, and that will run an out of cycle, the one that happens every 6 hours where it dumps everything to get an update. So there, you probably will see improvements there over time in terms of the time, but I don't think it's ever going to be like a real time, software inventory report every 15 minutes or something like that.
Got a question here from Pierre on YouTube. Not sure if I missed this, but was there a proof point demo?
There was, if you go on the Syncro website, there's a section for resources and then webinars. We have one for the proof point one that we did. Now that was basically like a more of like a proof point company overview. And then we have another one that we are scheduling. I don't have an exact date for that one yet, where we will be walking through the actual proof point product, the essential SKUs, the security awareness SKU. Yep, but that's the one. Ian just linked it in the chat. There's also one for Acronis that we just recently did with James there. So yeah, check that one out as well. Jeff's saying it'd be nice to be able to disable offline alerts or enable maintenance mode during a Windows update window as just a checkbox in the patch policy. Okay, Jeff, add that as a feature request. I think that's interesting, especially for the offline alert. That's a good example there. John's asking, is there any plans to include Windows feature updates in the Syncro MSP patching, or will it always have to be scripted? So, John, the thing is that's not something that we can really change. It's always going to have to be scripted. Feature updates require accepting a EULA, and by design, Microsoft prevents RMM vendors from accepting it through their API, which is why they're typically not included. If any vendor is doing that, they may have it in the UI, but they're basically just launching a script regardless to fire those off. So we can look in the future if there's some way to make it look a little cleaner, but at the end of the day, it's always going to be managed through a script unless Microsoft obviously changes that and allows us to do it. Mike's asking, what can we do to mark $0 invoices paid in bulk that are created from recurring invoices that pick up labor that's included in an agreement? What are thoughts on how we can make this easier to handle? So Mike, this has been something that I've actually, I know you put up that post and I still owe you a response there in the community forum. For folks that don't know, there's some instances where you want to track time and it gets tracked effectively as a $0 line item. Let's say that you have a customer on a block hour agreement or even an ACE agreement. You bill them for an hour because you want to track that time, but it really comes back as $0 because they don't owe you anything. They've already paid for it effectively. So it creates a situation where it goes into invoices and then it looks like it's overdue if you don't mark it as paid. So one of the more simple options we're thinking about is an option to automatically mark invoices that have a $0 balance as paid. That would basically cover you so you don't have to do anything manually. I think going forward, we really need a much better mechanism to account for that. I get it. You want to account for your time. If they ever say, hey, where did my 10 hours last month that I'm paying for go? You should be able to pull that up. But really, you don't need to generate an invoice if obviously you're not going to be charging the customer. So it is definitely a hot topic and definitely something that needs more discussion. So Mike, when I get a chance, I will definitely go in and we can discuss that more in the forum. Let's see. Do you see anything else from YouTube or Facebook there, Ian?
I don't.
Okay. Another question from Mike, expanding on the maintenance mode question, it would be nice to set a time window at the company or asset level when we would set maintenance scripts to run. So instead of picking a specific time, it would run the script during the maintenance window for the specific asset or company. Okay, Mike, if I understand what you're saying, it would look like this. You would set a maintenance window time on a customer record, and then you could just set a bunch of scripts to run and be like, run it during the customer's maintenance time. I wonder if that's still easier to do, just scheduling the scripts. But yeah, explain that, or even add it in the community forum, and I can discuss that one with you more. I think I need to think about that. It's interesting.
Maybe if you had like a like you know how you can create bundles.
Like a bundle of scripts.
What if you could bundle scripts and then schedule a bundle?
That'd be pretty cool. Yeah, like sequence them, or even have a script launch another script. That would be interesting too. Mike, the other thing is when we do talk about this, see if you can figure out what you'd want to happen. So say you have an hour window and for whatever reason, the scripts took a while and now you've got another script and it's 1 minute past the window. Do you want to skip it? Would you want to be notified that it didn't run? Or do you want it to breach the window? You know, I'm kind of curious what your expectation would be there. All right, well, we're out of questions. So while we're waiting for folks to queue them up, I'm going to show folks one of my favorite features in Syncro that is one of the lesser used features. And I think it's because we handle this differently than how most other vendors do, and that's by design. So this is our automated remediation module, and this is how we triage RMM alerts automatically in Syncro. The reason that we do it differently is because this methodology makes a lot more sense. Now, traditionally, in competitive vendors, you will do this in the policy. You'll say, I want my policy to monitor for low hard drive space. And then within the policy, you'll say, if I detect low hard drive space, go off and do this. That kind of sucks for a couple of reasons. The biggest one is that every single time I want to adjust something, I now have to create more policies. Or if I want to have a customer specific remediation, I now have to make a customer specific policy. That's kind of a pain. So this is basically a condition and action system. So what you can do is you can say, okay, if my trigger category is any of these different alerts, agent offline alert, AV installed alert, any of the stock alerts that we generate. On top of that, you can type them in here, and our scripting engine is so powerful that it will allow you to trip custom RMM alerts named anything you want, and you can also pick those up. So as an example, I can say if the trigger category is low hard drive space, I want to go ahead and run this script. I don't know if I have one by default for low hard drive space, but let's just say it's one of these. You can put your custom fields and everything in here too if you require more custom variables. We can go ahead and run this script. Now, in my script, I may not want to know about this. This is a problem, but is it really something that I have to raise to the level of a technician in the middle of the day? Probably not. So the first thing I want to do is I want to see if Syncro can automate this for me. So I'm going to have my script go ahead and clean all the temp garbage. You know the drill. And at the end of that, I'm going to have my script rescan and figure out how much hard drive space is left. If it did its job, great. I can have it actually go and close this alert. In fact, if I just want to close it by design, there's one for clear alert. So I can run the script, then clear the alert. Now, if this script doesn't do its job and it says, well, we're still low on space and I can't automate it, then I care. Then it became a problem for me. So then I can create a new one where I say trigger category is low hard drive space trigger, and I can maybe make a custom one that's like triage. I tried to fix it, it didn't fix it. Now this one can do something different. Now I can go ahead and I can have it convert this to a ticket. If it's a VIP customer, and I can do that by saying if it's this specific customer, I can even have it text me if I want. Send me an SMS. Send the customer an SMS. If you want to post it to Slack, you can do that. If you want to email internal people, you can do that. You can really triage this in any way you want. And the idea is that all of your alerts should flow into a single place. You should never have to go into 50,000 places to triage your alerts. And then you should be able to do whatever you want with them on a global scale. In fact, if I want to do multiple actions for this customer, if I want to escalate the ticket to a VIP tech I have on staff, I can do it for a particular customer. If I want to do something else for all other customers, I can do that. It's extremely easy to manage this, and it's extremely easy to make this flexible to the point you can really do anything you want within an existing module. And again, because our scripting engine can create custom alerts for anything that you want, that cyclical flow of like unlimited flexibility is extremely empowering for folks that are used to having to go into individual policies and manage their remediations there. All right, back to questions. So Mike is saying, yeah, exactly. This way a tech wouldn't have to guess when to run a script on a client because it's predefined at the customer level. He also likes your idea, you know, the batch of scripts. Okay,
Got an
Mike,
update from Mike too.
okay, go ahead and ask that one in the community forum, and then yeah, we'll track that because that's interesting. Go ahead, Ian. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry. On the rich text question, Mike, you asked, are there any updates to the inbound email scanner for rich text? And I got an update from the product team. They said we have an update in QA that refactors a portion of the inbound email system, which should improve image render performance as well as address things like the ticketing forwarding problem.
Cool. Does anybody have any, we're still waiting on more questions. Does anybody have any interesting automated remediations or examples of like, can I do this with this system? Again, it's not used as much as we'd like to see it. And it's just got extreme power to it. So I like when folks raise some interesting use cases here. There's always
we have one from Zach on YouTube. Can we change the customer via the automated remediations? And he says the use case is alerts from Uptime Monkey. Send an alert. An IP is offline or web address is down. The alert comes in generic, but the subject will have the customer name.
There's not a way to do that. The only way I could think to do it currently would be injecting something like Zapier, and then you could parse the name out, and then it could open a ticket based on that. But yeah, that's a good suggestion. It really is like, I know we were talking about this recently, and like it's almost like at the level of an email parser or something where you could include like variables in the body, and we'd be like, okay, this is where it goes. So there isn't anything like that that's available today.
Yeah, good point. Someone on Facebook says they could do it in Zapier with an email parser.
Yeah, so for folks that don't know, we have a Zapier integration that's pretty cool. So Zapier does have a full-blown email parser. You can basically take an example email, and normally it's pretty static when it's coming from like you said, Uptime Robot or Acronis, you know, backup failed, that kind of stuff. And you can just be like, you know, the customer name X, the company name X, whatever, asset name, and it can match all that, and then it can open a ticket, even attach the asset to it directly through Zapier. So yeah, that's
right. So Zapier would give you an email address to send the Uptime Monkey notification to. You'd parse it in Zapier, and then you'd use the create ticket action in Syncro. In Zapier to create the ticket in Syncro.
Oh, go ahead.
Got one on YouTube. Also hoping for an automation for recurring invoices would like the ability to automatically switch policies when an alert is thrown out when an invoice isn't paid after X amount of time. Do you want to show them the automation we made where you can like click a button and their scripts turn off and stuff?
Yeah, so we don't have exactly what you're talking about. However, automated policy changes can be dangerous for a lot of reasons. So we did take that into account. So one of the things that we did that's super cool, let's say you have a customer late to pay. Basically, the majority of your stuff is going to be handled through scripting. And we actually have this toggle right here where you can disable all scripting, but you can keep it in place. And it will actually log that it wanted to run the script against the asset it was trying to run it against, but it's like, you told me to disable it. So like, it's here, I went to run it, it's logged as it should be running. It's not because you explicitly disabled it. And then when they get up to date, you can just turn it back on. So that's a pretty interesting thing that's pretty unique to Syncro that allows you a one-click model to basically turn off all scripting with that particular customer. Now, if you wanted it to go much deeper than that and like start removing Bitdefender and backups and stuff like that, that's really like a manual process by design. We don't ever want to automate that if you accidentally, set the automation wrong, and all of a sudden you got an office of 100 machines that are not being backed up or not, or not protected by antivirus. That's a little bit risky. But yeah, that's a pretty cool thing we've added in there.
Yeah, the risks are pretty big there if you were to mess that up.
And I say that from experience because I did that once and it really sucked. For the automated remediation, clear old alerts. Fauzi, I'm not exactly sure what you're asking. It sounds like you're asking if it can clear old alerts. It will clear an existing alert. So basically the way our alert model works by design is that any single asset can only have one alert of the same type at the same time. So as an example, we will check every now and again if there's low hard drive space or if the machine's offline. What we don't want to do is overnight spam you with 50,000 notifications that we detected this. So it will append existing alerts. So like every time it detects low hard drive space, if you don't remediate that, it's going to append to the existing alert that, hey, I checked again on this date. This is the current status. And a lot of the alerts that we have in the policies will auto resolve. So if you check that box, once it no longer applies, it will just close the alert for you. However, if you want it to close the alert that it's talking about in automated remediation, there is an option in action that will just close that alert for you optionally.
Got a question here from Jesse. Jesse says that they offer a 30-day trial to new customers. What's the best way to get reminded of the 30-day trial? I would say there's a couple ways. There are probably a lot of ways you could do it. Some of the ones that come to mind for me, we actually have reminders in Syncro. So you can go set a reminder for whenever their trial is going to expire. There's also the ability to set an icon for a customer. So you could like have an icon that you want to set for like whatever this person's on a trial. So you could have like a timer or something like that, right? So I think there's probably quite a few ways. Yeah, there's also tasks. So there's yeah, I bet you could find 100 ways.
And then for folks that are looking for ways to notify on things also, you can create a custom field and put dates in it. And then we have in the if you look in the notification center, there's 2 notifications for this day is like 30 days out or this day is 7 days out. So if you want to track like warranties and stuff like that and throw notifications when they're coming due, that's another way to do it. Obviously for the 30-day trial thing, that doesn't necessarily work, but does work for a lot of different use cases. Mike's asking, it would be nice to have more deep dive training for videos like scripts automation, policy creation with examples. Yeah, Mike, there's we have a new customer success team, and that's actually actively getting spun up. There's some training academy stuff that's being spun up now. I'm going to be looking at that pretty soon. So yeah, that I hear you loud and clear. That's definitely something that we're looking at. Mike's saying, here's a quality of life suggestion. When setting an appointment in the appointment window, expose the ticket status so we can change the ticket status. I could then set my ticket status as scheduled. Mike, I think that's a cool idea. Throw that in the community forum. I don't see any reason that doesn't make sense. I like that one a lot. And for folks that don't know, the stuff that we released today that I showed you earlier on, we call that internally quality of life features. All of that stuff that we release is exclusively generated from the community. So when you hear me saying a lot, hey, go put it in the community forum, that's where we track this stuff. So if you have feel free to throw it up here. We can talk about it now. We got a couple minutes left, but whatever you're looking to do, if it's some small thing that's like, man, every time I go here, I wish you could just do this. And it's like a small thing we could rip out pretty quick. Throw it in there. Like I said, we add 2 or 3 new ones every single time we do these AUAs, and we're going to continue doing that. And again, we're not going to consider your suggestion if you don't suggest it. So just be sure to add them in there.
We read everything that's put in the forums. Are there any plans to allow policy manipulation through the Syncro API? So, no. We do not enable anyone to manipulate scripts or policies in the API, and that is for security reasons. So, and we don't currently have plans to change that. which I know for some folks who are like other vendors, that can be a little frustrating if they want to automate like scripts being created or run, but I think that's probably not going to change because that introduces some complicated security things. You wouldn't want somebody getting a hold of your API key and then running ransomware scripts on every single machine you have. So,
and again, it's the same thing with the policies. If you accidentally screw up a policy and all of a sudden you're not getting alerted for offline things that are critical or anything like that, there's some big security concerns there.
Yeah, as a just like a nightmare scenario, if another vendor who had your API key got hacked, right? They could then create scripts on your account and run scripts, and that would apply to every single MSP that's using that integration. So that would not be good. So that's why we don't enable that.
All right, I think we're at the end of questions. Do you have anything else on your end, Ian, that I can't see here?
I don't. We had a Facebook user. I don't think you did. You do this one? Is there a way to pass tags from automated remediation to a script launched from automated remediation?
No, and you know what? That's an awesome idea. Well, hold on. You can set the variable, but if you're saying like, well, let me show you what we do, and if that's not it, then you can tell me. Hang on here. So normally you'll have your variables in your script already set up. So if I go to run a script, hopefully I'll grab one that has variables here. Yeah. So they'll pop up, so you can set whatever you want here. Now, and there is template tags you could throw into a variable if you needed them down below here. But I don't know what you mean specifically by a tag. Like if it's the body of the alert, I don't know if you can do that. I don't think you can do that one. Yeah, so if it's something specific you want that's not down here listed, let me know, because I'm sure there's an example you're thinking of specifically that'd be super cool if we did it. Let me know what that is, and yeah, we can look at that, because more stuff we can automate, obviously, the better for everybody.
Cool. I think that's all we got time for.
All right, well, thanks everybody. We'll throw up the date for the next AUA. It's always on the link that Ian posted in chat. The newest one will always be up there. We'll throw it up in Facebook, let folks know well ahead of time. We'll see everybody in a couple weeks.
Thanks, everybody.
Take care.